Greetings, geniuses. This video is going to cover another topic from the INFJ perspective, as usual, and we're going to do something a little bit different in this video. Trick or truth, INFJs. And no, it's not Halloween, and I don't even like that holiday anyway, so it's okay that we're in a totally different month right now. And what are we talking about with that? Well, the trick is manipulating others or events around us, and the truth is obviously telling the truth, but not deceiving people and just living authentically. And this is another one of those topics that is kind of hard to talk about generically to some degree because, well, it's not the nicest of things to do to manipulate others. And even though I feel like most of my life I've used that ability, that skill for good reasons or to protect others and those kinds of things, I'm like pretty much everybody, and that I have not been perfect. I have used it at my low points for not good things, to get away with something, or to make sure the blame didn't come onto me, whatever it was. But I do have a lot of experience to talk about this subject, just because I've lived in several different countries, I've moved around a lot, so therefore I've worked with a lot of different people, hundreds of people over the years, and different types of people. So not only am I talking about my own ability as an INFJ and all of ours to read situations, to kind of control the narrative or the things that are going around us, but I've also observed some horrible individuals who wanted to manipulate me and were manipulating me and others to some extent. And so it's one of those topics that really sort of gets me going if I think about it, because there's been a lot of anger there that I've had to deal with. And in one of the recent videos, I talked about healing trauma from the past. And so there's a good portion of that trauma for me that I had to get over from what other people did or were trying to do. And sometimes there's no easy fix. You know, if you're trying to get around somebody who's manipulating you and they're just really an evil person in what they're doing and how they're going about it, it's not like you're just going to walk up to them and tell them, hey, stop that, you're wrong, and everything's going to get better, because in most cases, they're a narcissist or have mental problems of some kind. And so it can be a very messed up situation. And so if you're dealing with anyone like that now, you certainly have my full sympathy, because I've been there. I've been in a work situation so bad for over a year, where it was at its worst, I should say, that I literally felt sick to my stomach just pulling into the driveway to start the day. And because it was so much stress and anxiety, and I knew what was probably coming. Although, yes, of course, a lot of it was unnecessary worry, like we all do, and there were some days that weren't bad. But that was to the level that this person's narcissism, manipulation, and evil motives were affecting me. And at the time, it wasn't just because it was affecting me, even though I was feeling pretty, I would say, pitiful at times, because I really let it get to me. And so it kind of became sort of a selfish thing and a depressive thing But it really wasn't my fault. And it can just be so confusing when you're in those situations, especially when it's going on for months and months on end, and there can seemingly be no way out of it. But as always, I would just say that it is temporary, and even if you have to strategically find a way out of it, not in the next day or week, but in the near future, and you need to work towards that, whatever you need to do logically, there has to be that balance of you have to deal with it emotionally, find ways to deal with it at the time that you're in this, and logically you also need to make your battle plan and think long term and make sure that you don't stay stuck in that situation. So that is my short answer, but not simplistic answer for anyone who's going through it. And I can just say that, like I said, from my own experience, because there was no quick, easy way out. And if anybody tried to tell me, oh, you just need to distract yourself, get a hobby and not focus about work so much, whatever it is, we hear those kind of quick solutions. And as INFJs, that just annoys us because there really is no easy answers in those most difficult times of life, whether we're talking about work or personal, when the shit really hits the fan and everything just seems like it's coming against you and it's a long-term problem, then we don't like those simple answers or those kinds of help coming from people, because it really just doesn't help us. We're already thinking about things that we could do constantly. And so let's get back to circle back around, back to the manipulation versus living authentically. And so I talked about how others can do it to us and how it can affect us. It affects the people around us, usually too, because we're usually trying to protect other people, friends or family around us. And so that's what really gets to us. But now if we turn the tables, and like I said before, I have not been a perfect person, and I've made mistakes. I've done things selfishly in my life. Most of the time, I think I've done pretty well about sort of keeping my manipulation in check and using it for the right reasons. But is there a right time to use it? Well, on that, I would just say, if you're trying to alleviate some stress of a situation, maybe you say you had a group of friends and there was an argument on something semi-major, maybe not, fist fight level, but a subject that everybody was kind of upset about, having a disagreement on. And you use that manipulation technique to sort of change the narrative of the group and go in a different direction. I could see that as being a good thing, right? It's kind of like you read everybody's position in this argument, where they're at, why they have that problem, why they're so angry. And as INFJs, we can literally analyze each of their positions. They don't even realize that we know this, but then we can find a way to connect all those dots into a new narrative that they'll all agree with. That's some pretty masterful manipulation, and in a good way, if it brings everybody to a better place. And yes, I can say I've done that before. And I felt a little bit devious as I did it. But motives are really what it comes down to with manipulation. Because, whether you're a salesman or, I don't even know, like maybe a marketer, somebody who is trying to influence people, basically. That's really what it comes down to. If you're trying to influence people on a regular basis, it really all comes down to the motive. And I guess how far you take it, because there is a line that you shouldn't cross, right? And us INFJs like to talk generically a lot of times, like I am right now, because we want it to apply to every situation and every topic that we're talking about. So that's my sort of sum up of how I would say manipulation is not a bad thing. It depends on each situation, but you can't cross a certain line. You'll know what that line is. And then with your motive, there's a certain line where it's basically good or evil. And are you staying on the good side of things, the good reasons why you're doing it, or not? And in a way, I wish there was an easier way to just put it out there and explain it, but there really isn't. And so I guess the answer to this question for any of you who have dealt with it, who have thought about what they've done in the past, or if you're in a situation right now where you have the ability and question of whether or not to manipulate, would be stop and think. What is that line that you shouldn't cross? Are you causing people to gossip about somebody, which is going to change the narrative? Because usually I would say that's not a good thing. Are you just laying out facts in an honest way and then just letting the cards fall where they may, so to speak? Well, if you don't mind the kickback that you might get, which does come back on you, and I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing in itself, that's fine then. And so that would be living authentically. And I guess I would just wrap up this video by talking about my own lesson learned from this topic question of should I manipulate, whether it be for a good reason or a questionable reason, and to help you decide how to go about tackling these events in the future. And my short wrap up would be that from my own experiences, I can look back and see that if I manipulated for the wrong reasons or more selfish reasons, then it did not serve me well as a person. And the way that I look at myself, the stress that I dealt with, anxiety, worry of, is somebody going to ask me something today? Do I have to come up with an excuse? Or what's my story going to be? Those kinds of things really get to you, and you won't even realize it most of the time until hindsight of some nature, of when you're not dealing with that stress anymore, or you've gotten past that phase, and then you'll look back like I did, and you'll just say, wow, that was really messed up that I did that, and it just made life crazy. So even if you quote unquote get away with it, you're not. And in fact, it's going to affect you more than anyone else a lot of times. So it's definitely not a win. And then again, if I look back at the times when I manipulated, but in a positive way to bring about change for myself or others. And it was not for a selfish reason. And I wasn't trying to necessarily trick anyone into doing the right thing, but actually kind of like coaching somebody, giving somebody a different perspective, but using that knowledge, that intuition and discernment of each person to get it done. Maybe we should just call it influencing. I'm not sure even. I guess I still put it in the manipulate category because oftentimes we as INFJs see things that other people don't. And it's kind of like talking with images or experiences rather than just telling somebody what to do. I still see it as manipulation, but it doesn't mean that it's bad if you're, like I said, you have the right motives and you're doing it for the right reasons. And I hope that makes sense, because I definitely don't want to end this video with the thinking that, yeah, go manipulate people, have fun. No, that is not what I'm saying. And I'm treading very carefully at the end of this because I know that sometimes my words, for certain people, they might take it that way. And especially as an INFJ, how you should carefully consider not to manipulate people for the wrong reasons, but only to manipulate situations around you if it's to protect others, if it's to improve a situation that maybe nobody else could do it but you. And so we do have that gift that I do believe is okay to use in the right circumstances, in the right way only. Well, that's it, and I will look forward to bringing another topic soon. This was a long one, but it was fun for me, and I hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, I'll see you soon, genius.